This beautiful black slab is a NeXTSTEP color. It's running NeXTSTEP 3.3 on a Motorola 68040 CPU. Well, today we're going to explore a weird bit of history on this hideous Pentium 75. We're building white box Next hardware, so stay tuned. And if you enjoy the obscure side of computer history, I hope you'll consider subscribing to the channel. The story of how this Next computer came to be is a little bit wild. When Steve Jobs was forced out of Apple in the late 1980s, he took a bunch of Macintosh engineers with him and founded Next, which in a way was kind of the antithesis of Apple. While Apple was trying to get the whole family computing with these adorable and inexpensive boxes, Next was building high-end, spare-no-expense workstations for scientists. Powerful hardware running a tightly integrated Unix environment called NeXTSTEP. These machines were almost unbelievable for the time, like in 1988, debuting a die-cast magnesium cube painted black, selling for the equivalent of $16,000. Unfortunately, I don't have one of those, but I know someone who does.
Hi Sean! Hi Action Retro Gang! Macintosh Librarian here with not one, not two, but three original Next machines. The first computer we have here is the Next computer. This iconic die-cast magnesium cube runs a Motorola 68030 processor running at 25 megahertz. It has a mega futuristic magneto-optical drive that allows up for 256 megabytes of portable storage and a massive 330 megabyte hard drive inside. And back here, we have the original 17-inch megapixel monochrome monitor. These monitors had 4 shades of gray for all your display needs. And it could render everything at an amazing 1120 by 832 resolution. The megapixel display also pulls power and video signal from just one single cord connected to the Next. The mouse and keyboard also plug into the monitor instead of directly to the computer, which is pretty Apple-esque if you ask me. A few years later, in 1990, Next released the next iteration of their eponymous machines, the slabs. The NeXTSTEP and the NeXTSTEP Color, as you see here, both ran a Motorola 68040 processor clocked at 25 megahertz. The NeXTSTEP Color is actually the computer that John Carmack developed the first Doom on. One of the strangest things about Next Labs is that they need to connect to a monitor and mouse through a separate device called a sound box. This box replaced a circuit board that was previously built into the monitor. These little metal wedges are hard to find, but they're necessary to get your machine working again. These machines were utilized heavily at universities and big brain industries that needed to develop novel computational methods to help them further their research into gene folding, weather simulations, engineering and modeling, and so much more. So thanks for checking us out. Back to you, Sean.
Yeah, that black hardware is incredible. But today, we're going to explore the strange world of white hardware, or NeXTSTEP, running on non-Next machines. You see, Next didn't do so well selling cubes and slabs that cost as much as a car, but it turned out the most valuable thing they created was the NeXTSTEP operating system itself. Next pivoted from hardware to software in 1993 and ported NeXTSTEP to RISC, SPARC, and Intel. Shortly after this, of course, Apple famously acquired Next and turned NeXTSTEP into macOS 10, which lives on today, even in your modern macOS. But we're going to visit that weird 2 or 3 years when enthusiasts were building what they termed white hardware, and this Pentium 75 machine is the perfect candidate for such a build. Let me show you why. Right after this quick word about today's sponsor, Delete Me. Okay, story time. When I was a wee young naive retro, I shared my full name and childhood address on a vintage computing forum. Search engines picked up this forum post, and then the data brokers picked it up. And for years, that childhood address haunted me online. This is exactly the kind of thing that today's sponsor, Delete Me, can help to address. Delete Me not only found all of this information floating out there, but showed me a ton of brokers and websites that have it, and helped me delete it. I wonder if that's where they got the name Delete Me from. But seriously, it's harder than ever today to keep your private info private, and with all the dangers out there online like phishing scams, identity theft, that person who read that thing you posted on Reddit that one time and became very cross. It's more important than ever to protect your personal information, and after using Delete Me, I can definitely recommend it. Get 20% off your Delete Me US consumer plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/actionretro and use promo code ActionRetro at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/actionretro, code ActionRetro. So I've been looking around for a while to find a good candidate machine for the Intel version of NeXTSTEP 3.3, and this old Pentium 75 is just about the perfect specs. It's got 24 megs of RAM, 75 megahertz Pentium, and actually a very special card lurking inside. It came with this, an Adaptec SCSI card, which is special because it's actually compatible with NeXTSTEP. This is the AHA 2940. And yeah, NeXTSTEP is incredibly picky about devices and doesn't really have a whole lot of drivers. Now, the only thing I'm not sure about is this Ethernet card. I don't know if this is supported. I'm actually not sure exactly what model it is, but I guess we'll find out. And this motherboard is so nice. It has 3 ISA slots and 4 PCI slots. That is glorious. And I know I could put both the install CD image and the hard disk image to install to on an SD card in the blue SCSI, but we're gonna put a CD-ROM in here anyway. So I've got this lovely SCSI CD-ROM, and this is what we'll install from. I think I have the CD-ROM set to SCSI ID 2. And then the blue SCSI image is set to SCSI ID 1, I think. And fortunately, all of the boot floppies and install media for NeXTSTEP 3.3 is available on archive.org, which I will link to down below. But I've made up a bunch of floppies that we should need. We'll start with the boot floppy. And might as well stick the install CD in. All right, it sees our Quantum drive on SCSI ID 2 and the TIAC CD-ROM drive on 4. I guess that's what I set it to. All right, next step is booting. Here we are. Enter to start the install. All right, 1 for English, 1 to prepare to install. It's asking for the driver's disk, which conveniently I have right here. And look at that, there's our Adaptec 2940 PCI SCSI adapter right there. So we press 4 to select that for the CD-ROM drive, loading the driver. Now it's asking for the hard drive controller, which is also on that same SCSI card, so 4 again. And I think that's all the drivers we need. Yeah. Adaptec 2940 host adapter found at bus 0, device 15. I do see some concerning things in here. Now we're getting some media errors now. Okay, well, surprisingly, we made it to the install step. It detected the SCSI disk at ID 2, our 900 megabyte Quantum Blue SCSI F1, which of course is a disk image on an SD card. Yeah. Let's 1 to install and see if this works. Oh yeah, check it out. The hard disk is ready to use as the startup disk. To complete installing NeXTSTEP, remove the floppy disk and press return. All right. Oh yeah, it's booting NeXTSTEP. Haha. Oh, look at that. Starting NeXTSTEP. Okay, well apparently NeXTSTEP does not like BlueSCSI v1.1 because I stuck a version 2 BlueSCSI in there, and here we are, booted into, well, at least the beginning stage of a fresh install of NeXTSTEP. A little more install to go. I don't think we need all these languages. Swedish, Spanish, Italian, German, and French, that's okay. We'll keep the demos, documentation, and all this fun stuff. Yeah, we'll keep printers in there too. Why not? All right, so I think we officially have it. NeXTSTEP has been installed successfully. So let's restart. All right, NeXTSTEP initial setup. And that's it, here we are. We are in the NeXTSTEP desktop. I do think we can get color going on this thing, but let's shut this down and put the computer back together and try to make a nice looking system here. So I do kind of really like the look of the floppy drive up top in one of the 5 1/4 bays. I was thinking I would put it down here, but I think I'm going to leave this drive here. And for the optical drive, I did use this nice TIAC for install, but I think it would be funny to use this Apple 600i SCSI CD-ROM drive as kind of a nod to the Steve Jobs influence here. Oh, now we have one of these metal backing plates here. Please don't destroy my fingers. All right, make sure I still have all my fingers. And then I'm going to mount the BlueSCSI right here. Oh yeah, it's looking pretty nice, but quick finishing touch. Oh yeah, perfect. All right, I guess let's see if it boots. Oh yeah, starting NeXTSTEP. All right, we have successfully booted into the desktop, still at a pretty terrible resolution. I think we can have a quick futzing around with the drivers. And for video, we should be able to do ATI Ultra Pro, I think. If that doesn't work, I think we can just restart into safe mode, but let's give that a shot. Okay, well, just did a restart, and apparently NeXTSTEP has borked itself. Can't find label, LBL. All right, we are back into a working install, and the solution was actually pretty simple. All I had to do was dig out an actual old spinning SCSI hard drive, completely redo the install, and yeah, here we are. I'm pretty sure that NeXTSTEP 3.3 just does not like BlueSCSI. I think I mentioned at the start of this video that NeXTSTEP is quite finicky. But honestly, at this point, I'm almost afraid to try to mess with any of the settings because this seems so fragile installed on here, even though this machine, I mean, it should be the perfect candidate for this install, but NeXTSTEP 3.3 was pretty early on in the port to Intel, but boy oh boy do I love the look and feel of NeXTSTEP, even in super low res grayscale mode. Alright, well, that was quite a lot of effort and pain to get what appears to be quite a fragile install on this machine. And all of that effort for what? There's basically no software of any relevance for NeXTSTEP 3.3 for Intel. I mean, I don't think we can play Doom on it. There's no Wolfenstein. I think there's some virtual PC software we could run to run DOS software on a machine that could just be running DOS. So I think what I'm actually going to do is install the very last version of NeXTSTEP for Intel, which is actually OpenStep 4.2. There are a lot more drivers, and I'm pretty sure we'll have a lot easier time setting up the video to get color and networking and browsing the web and stuff. There's still not a whole lot of software we can use, but I'd really like an Intel system that I can play around, especially with Interface Builder and possibly some programming. In any event, I'm going to call this Nightmare here. If you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more stuff like this, please subscribe down below. And thank you very much for watching. And a special thanks to Alex Hoffman, Andrew Nicholson, April White, Chris Biggs, Chris Calderon, Chris Nelson, Control-Alt-Reese, Drew Hamlin, Frodo Jedi, Gaspar Heller, George Rosansky, Graham, Greg from Hrutking Mods, James Fryman, James Laurie, Jason Papaz, Jason Ezel, Camille Rakowski, Lyle Truid, Matthew Crowell, Nick Daniels, Paul Spencer, Ryan, Scott Cedarbaum, Scott Thompson, Tom Woodfin, Unknown Soldier 41, Veronica Explains, and Xantronics Industrial, who are my highest tiered patrons and all of my Patreon supporters for helping to make these videos possible.